We're live.
Welcome to our first installment of Barbershop Talk series. I am Dr. Mitch Mitchell, and I will be your host for this evening. The Barbershop Talk series, BTS, is designed to foster a community which supports and establishes a safe space for WSSU students to dialogue, bond, and support each other holistically. BST is intentionally creates culturally enriching events and affirming initiatives which students explore their identity and goals. In the spring, we would like to involve students in meeting and programming on campus and the community to interact and discuss topics pertinent to underrepresented males. Through these experiences, you, the student, will have the opportunity to interact with peers and mentors. Up first, we will allow our panel to introduce themselves. I'll start with my left.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Jack Monell, Justice Studies professor here at Winston-Salem State University. Been here 10 years, and I look forward to building with my brothers this evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jared Lampkin, counselor here, University, Winston-Salem State. Been here a few years, not that long. Been here a few months, but getting to know the program, getting to know the panel here. So let's get started.
Sean McNeil, junior, political science major, and I'm glad to be here, glad to be on the show, and hope that we can get into some good talk on today.
My name is Amir Henry. I'm the chief of police here at the university, and I've been here for about 8 years. So I'm excited to be here and ready to get into this.
Welcome, everybody. I am Dr. Mitch Mitchell. I'm the assistant dean of students at Winston-Salem State University, and just excited for us to dialogue, converse, get to know each other, chop it up, do what we do at barbershops. So before we go and jump in, today's episode is summertime. Right? And you started thinking about summertime. Many of our students are now, made it through a semester, 2 semesters of COVID. So that's been a lot. It's been painstaking. It's been a lot on our professors, counseling, students, campus safety, security, you name it, the whole gamut. And now it's time for these young men, young kings, and scholars to transition back. And what does that transition look like, and what have you experienced? So our first kind of opening topic is, are you a college freshman or in the 13th grade? And I just want to leave that open for anybody to kind of open up the conversation, discussion about that. So are you a college freshman or are you in the 13th grade?
Let's start with the student. What you think, man?
Honestly, almost feel like a college freshman now, because it's like, by COVID coming and then taking over, it's like, wow, I gotta just about readapt all over again. Matter of fact, I was just home yesterday and we was talking to my parents and my sister and kind of like saying how it was a year ago when COVID first came. I remember, matter of fact, on spring break, I was in Miami with a couple of my peers in Miami.
Okay.
So yeah, they was over there having fun, and then I'll never forget just seeing on my social media like, oh, COVID's out. And then now, oh, boom, school's online. And I'm over here trying to keep the faith. I'm like, man, you know what? This is just a little virus, like the cold. So, we're going to eventually come back.
Mm-hmm.
Then I see again another email. Oh, we online for the rest of the semester. So it's like, bro. And already having some experience having online classes, I'm not saying it's the hardest thing, but it's not the easiest thing. And then kind of coming back in, trying to, adapt with COVID and adapt to this new way of thinking and system. It's like, wow, it's like everything's just starting all over. But thank God for, good administrators and good peers like you guys and Ms. Shalif for kind of making this process a whole lot easier, So.
It's funny because, you kind of hear that sometimes, on any campus, not just Winston-Salem State, but, students, feel like, because of the pandemic, because of what we're all enduring. I mean, even me, us, we're grown men for argument's sake, whatever that means nowadays. But, we had to adjust. And I felt like, and I pride myself on pretty much having everything together, right? Like I'm pretty anal. I'm pretty, methodical with my movements. And COVID kind of threw everything like, wow, it just created this like new life for us. And I had to adapt. And I felt like, that, am I regressing? You know what I mean? Like, not obviously not to high school, but like I felt like I don't like not being in control. You know what I mean? And COVID did that. It made it challenging early on, at least for me, speaking from my standpoint. And I know my students I engaged with across the university, for them, like you said, some of them were like, it was cool. It was like a blessing. Oh man, everything's online. So now I could chill because they think it's easier. And then some students were like, yo, doc, I'm pulling my hair out. I'm pulling my, I'm quitting. Like, so then what do? I'm like, yeah, I need to go rap to the counselors. Because listen, there's no hurt, shame. There's no there's no foul. Listen, I was stressed. I lost people during this last year. We all need to be able to reach out. And I think when young people see us admit that and be transparent, I think it helps them, at least, but I know Doc has more to say because they've been probably more busy than ever on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I've been noticing a lot lately is, unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot of and hearing a lot of disgruntled people. Everybody's trying to adjust to these new circumstances. No one knows when it's going to all be over. As everybody's been saying, everybody's doing their best, and one of the things I've been trying to get out to the students is that be patient. We're all adjusting. It's not, no one has any answers. If it seems that we don't all look like we know what we're doing, it's because for the most part we don't, because this is a pandemic that we've never experienced before ever.
That's right.
This is something new to us as well. So, but I think with life, as you said, with adults comes expectations that, we have the answers to every single thing. One thing that we do have is good problem solving skills and a good way to start, and at this point with everything going on right now, just be appreciative that at least we do have a starting point right now, and eventually we'll get a hold of this whole thing and then we'll start to transition back to the type of environment that we should have here. I don't know what you've been seeing on your end, but
yeah, it's been it just felt like everybody else. It's been tough. I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from this whole situation is patience, right? You don't know what you don't know, and we're all trying to make it through this situation. But at the end of the day, you still have to stay focused on the mission, right? And so as a person being out of the military, that's how I look at everything, through my lens. So the mission is making sure students are getting what they need, right? And that they're in an environment where they can make mistakes, ask questions, and get the support that they need, right? So we have to be patient. We also have to be honest and say, we don't know. However, we're going to help find the answer, right? We're not going to leave you in that space, right? And so it's opened up some new avenues for us. We've even, started helping with helping counseling services with certain things with students. And again, it's nothing to be ashamed of, right? So we're a resource. I look at it as us being a co-pilot, right? They're flying their plane, getting to the destination that they're trying to get to. And we're not asking to fly your plane. We're just asking to take the ride with you and make sure that you get there to your destination.
Well, that's what we do, man. The one thing I always tell people, I'm not too concerned with how other institutions do it for the most part, because that, quite frankly, doesn't really involve us per se. But I feel like when we work together collaboratively, you know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is, and that's what makes it so dope being at HBCU, being here at Winston, where many of us have our own specialties, expertise, experiences, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we're here for the students, man. I mean, at least that's what I'm here for.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm not here to posture and how smart I am or this and that. there might be some here for that, whatever, but that's not what I'm here for. But I think students, when they see that, they can regain trust in the system that's already failed them outside of WSSU. We know what's going on outside of WSSU. So at the very minimal, this Wakanda, we gotta still maintain, right? And still, still persevere. So for me, I was telling Doc Mitchell, I've always prided myself on being on both sides, student activities, student life, and academic affairs, because we got to work together. I can't act like he's insignificant and vice versa. You know what I mean? And I think, unfortunately, when we act like that, students see that, and then that doesn't help their academic success.
Sure. It's a disconnect and divide. And I think what I've gleaned from some of the things we said is that adaptability, of just being adaptable and being resilient. Many of us, come to a situation and we didn't know, like you said before, how long it was going to last. And then when it hit us, we were like, how we adapted and adjusted it. And it stretched us in many ways, in so many different aspects, of figuring out how we can offer the same services in a different platform. But it also helped us to create a space where we meet students where they are. Many students were farther along in this digital age and digital space, but then it had us to say, how can we be adaptive? And I think, as you said before, like, you look at us, and we spread across the gamut of WSSU. We got one in campus police. Tell me your area again, Doc.
Criminal justice,
counseling. I'm in student affairs, but we all come collectively and collaboratively for the student experience. And I think that's the beautiful thing about what we have and the unique thing about here. I want to think of first, and I'm gonna go with this. Like, Doc, what did you think about with that premise of some of our students are 13th grade, or some of us are college freshmen? What have you kind of seen in your experience?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let you off the hook. Yeah, so oftentimes what happens is that transitional period. I always explain it this way. You start off in kindergarten, and then you go to first grade, you're at the bottom. Go to fourth grade, you're at the top. And you swing it around again, you're in fifth grade, you're at the bottom. And then you get to eighth grade, you're at the top. Swing it around again, ninth grade, 12th grade, you're at the top. Now you're a college freshman for a lot of people. So a lot of times with that whole 13th grade mentality, what that's really about is, have you transitioned into the college life versus is this just another grade on top of high school? And that means, have you matured mentally, emotionally? Have you matured in terms of your outlook, your level of seriousness? Have you embraced what college is supposed to be about, as opposed to I'm just a grade higher than 12th grade? So I would ask how you feel about that yourself, and based on, without telling on anybody in particular, just what you see around you throughout campus.
Just how you said, from you're in fourth grade, you're here, and then every time you jump up, you're here. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, especially when I came into college, it was like I came in with the mentality, okay, I'm a college student. I'm not in high school no more. It's a different playing field. And then now as a junior, it's like, okay, every year is something. Every year is a different challenge. And especially as students, it's like sometimes I feel we get too comfortable in certain positions that we put ourselves in, especially as now. And I'm speak for myself and a couple of my other peers, we do get too relaxed. We kind of do get too involved in the swing of things. It's like, okay, let me remember why I'm here. This is not another grade higher, but this is just another life experience. And it's like the older you get, the more you see that, I can't do the things that I used to do. I can't do, this and that and the third, because, okay, I'm becoming a grown man. I'm becoming a grown woman. So it's like, I got to adapt to where I'm at. I got to change how I play. Because if I stay the same, then it's like, okay, it's no, what's the word I'm looking for? It's no development. There's no growth. So,
Do you feel like to Doc's point, do you feel like for freshmen, obviously, freshmen, so, students relatively new, do you feel like they may posture like, it's the 13th grade here, so they still feel like they on top, to Doc's point? Because you know how we, when you're a freshman, you're not on top anymore, theoretically, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're young, you're not even legal, you can't drink, you can't do everything, So you are literally the bottom tier, start over, right? In the guise of adulthood, or young adulthood. do you think sometimes, because I got a college year, my son is a junior too, and I got a junior in high school, and me and him always I tease my youngest now, like, how you can be in college and this and that, kind of prepping them. And I always, and speaking to some of the freshmen, my experience with them sometimes was some, not all, because I don't like to generalize either, but some of them do feel like it's just like a coping mechanism, that if it's the 13th grade, they still in control. Because it's scary as hell to be a freshman in a new environment for Dolo. And I'm speaking, I was a transfer student at my college. And I was 21. I started college later. And I still, as tough or whatever as it may appear, in class with 400 students, and you don't even, I'm a lighter spot, but a lighter dark spot, it's intimidating, you dig? So for some of us, we cope. How we cope? We create these kind of these our own kind of understanding of where we're at, these stations of sorts. So I always wondered about that, because students oftentimes, instead of seeking out the help, they'll just say, man, it's whack. This is 13th grade, because they don't really want to address some of their own insecurities.
And I think that's really the big thing, is like, you don't want to put on TV, you don't want to kind of face it,
right.
Because especially this year, it was like I went through certain things. It's like, okay, I can either hit it head on, or I can just play it off and just, this is the old usual.
Right.
But it's like, especially with freshmen now, it's like, okay, I came from doing this into now coming into college, especially with COVID being here. It's like, okay, I can't be in the same space, but at the same time, it's like, I can't move. Yeah.
Right. It's just another barrier, man. Another layer.
Yeah, because unless you could really deal with it, that's the only way you could just say, okay, this is the 13th grade, versus looking at it like, oh, I'm a college freshman.
And I mean, go to the point with them or some of the freshmen that I always say when I see some of my office, I understand what they're going through, considering, many of our students, if you were a senior last year, you may have missed prom, you missed graduation, you missed all these social opportunities, and then you expect to come into college and it's what you saw on TV and all this other type of stuff, and then realize it's a different experience. Then you hit with COVID, and it's like, I got to do college different. And I signed up for college to be traditional, and now I'm online. I can't hang out with my friends. And we go the fact of like mental health and some things that I know we've worked on. If y'all familiar with this, Yana, which is You're Not Alone, us trying to destigmatize how we view and look at mental health in our space. Because many times, I'm well connected with the counseling services, reaching out with them. I know Chief is on it, and just helping them understand how to cope with this situation has kind of been hard. And we've been trying to do our best to keep us in that space. Then we talked about growth and things of that nature. How do you think this COVID experience is something that's made you grow as a student, as a person,
if anything, COVID really taught me like, okay, I got to make value of my time now. Like, time is something I really took for granted growing up. It's like, okay, I get older, but it's like, okay, I'm just getting older, another year older. But now it's like, okay, especially coming from, I want to say, right before COVID hit, we just won CIAA, by the head of the Ran Fest, to now, boom, all that's gone. So it's like, dang, and I always think to myself, like, I was doing this time last year. I was doing that. So it's like, when all that's taken away, and it's like, okay, I got to think of other things to do besides just being in that same place and doing the same thing I was doing. So it's like, okay, I got to take my time more serious, because, time is very precious.
And it's not guaranteed.
And especially, like, I remember, like, it was just in my freshman year, and now, boom, I'm a junior. And I would never thought in a million years, oh, I'm a junior in college. Like, I'm 20 years old. And then my birthday next week, I'm about to be 21. So I was like, dang, bro, like, I'm getting old. So I gotta make it my time.
You making us feel ancient.
Hey, 21.
21, boy.
Savage.
Yeah, I'm a 20-year-old inside of a 50-year-old.
I got it.
Okay. It's all in the mentals. It's
all in the
I got
mental.
you.
Oh, man.
I tell you what, give me your body.
Let's trade real quick.
So as we think about like transformation, first I want to ask, like, how many students really think or focus on what's next in the summertime? Because my thing is, we all were students at one point in time, and y'all made it through COVID, and it's like, hey, I may have an internship, I may have a job, I'm at the beach, I'm hanging out. what's the summer plan? Are we thinking about that, or we just out here trying to hang?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Keep it 100.
Keep it 100. You know, school might be over with. I ain't got to worry about that. And outside is just now open up a little bit more. So it's like, you know, I was cooped up in the house all last summer. Me and my boys, like, we're not doing that. You know, we not in the house. We trying to do stuff. And not only just we're having fun, but also, you know, okay, it's time to get down to business. Like, you know, next year we're seniors. So it's like, okay, we can't just be out here partying. We got to, you know, get down and get gritty.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like, okay, we want to have fun, but at the same time, you know, we're trying to buckle down. So I'll be real. I'm not ready for my senior. Not, you know, as in, oh, senior year, new this, new that, but it's like, I'm about to be grown, you know? So, yeah, I want to have fun, but it's like, okay, I got to make sure I get my bag right.
It's important because we here for a purpose, right?
Mhm.
To finish out, you know, like sometimes they think it's just an experience, but we building you for your future. This is what it's 4 years. You come out with a degree. I want to take you on a journey, but take us a step back. So let's start out with first, like, who were you prior to entering WSSU? Like, how have you grown in that aspect, and are you secure with your growth? So think about, I'm gonna say, 3 years ago, where you from, and that decision, hey, I'm going to college. And how were you as a student now, then, and then how have you grown in matriculation to where you are now in your mindset?
Man, three years back, I was in the place of, okay, really immature. You know, I was mature in certain things, but I was really kind of immature. Not so much where I'm at now, especially, you know, coming from high school and then jumping to my freshman year.
Where are you from?
So I'm from a place, small town called Lumberbridge.
Okay.
So you ever heard of Fayetteville? We're close to the Fayetteville, Lumberton area.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, I had my sister and my cousin, but she like my sister. They both went to college. So, okay, I kind of got an insight of what's about to go on, but I really didn't like take them serious. And then jumping from that mind state then into now, it's like I can really say I'm proud of myself and how I developed, how I matured. Because old Sean, a lot of things that I used to do, you know, I can't do now. Not only because I'm getting older, but at the same time, you know, I was young then, I'm coming to a man now. So, you know, that growth is really big, bro, especially to any freshman that's on this live. Like, you know, when you come into Winston, when you come into college, I know you see on social media, we this and we that, but also, you know, take value of your growth that you make while you're here. Because I'll be honest, really, and I give big props to Miss Shalit. Without her, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, mentally, you know, and giving me that headspace. Okay, like, you know, yeah, you can have fun, but also, you know, stay about your business. You know, remember right here, my mom always tell me, you know, yeah, you can have fun, but make sure what you're doing in the classroom, you're doing good there. That way you keep having fun.
Sure.
You know, so that growth is big, man.
You know, school's a balance, man. And I always tell people that, man. It's like, you know, people oftentimes don't, I mean, I had too much fun in college. In fact, I was talking to somebody about an hour ago, like, yo, man, you know, we did just enough to graduate and get into grad school, at least for me. He did, but I did. So for me, it's like, but, you know, to Dr. Mitchell's point, you know, we're no different than y'all. Like, we're planning our out too, right? Our out, like, you know, I think for me, like, sometimes students know, you know, I'm pretty straight shooter. I shoot from the hip, but I always tell students, man, y'all not the only ones enduring stuff, man. Like, we are equally enduring stuff. So, you know, I'm like you, man. I don't want to be cooped up this summer either, man. I'm like, figure out where I'm going to go with the wife, figure out, you know, what we're going to do as a family with the boys, and what I'm going to do, you know, with my bros, man. Because, you know, we work hard, but we play hard, you know, and it's like, I'm just like, I just want everybody to be safe, man. Let's get through this joint so we all can win, right? Like, we, you know, we sacrifice for a small period of time so we can live and enjoy after. And I think for us, you know, and for my students that I work with directly, they are anxious. They're like, Doc, what is the world going to look like when I graduate in May? You know, am I going to actually go into my building, or am I have to go online? You know, I have to relocate, but I'm going to a new city, and, you know, with COVID, we might still be inside. Like, I know a lot of my students are anxious, you know, and like I said, you know, oftentimes, you know, I try to share my experiences to them, But I'm like, who else have you rapped to? Have you ever rapped to counseling service? I'm like, I'm also a social worker, so I'm always going to talk about therapy and counseling. But it's like, I always be like, have you know where the counseling center is at? Some students been here 4 years. They'd be like, where's the counseling center at? Because I think that stigma. And then, with the young men particularly, the ladies are a little bit different. They'll seek out the help or at least be willing to talk about it. The fellas, man, we almost got to get y'all in the corner, man. Like, yo, B, like, it's cool to be, sensitive. It's cool to be, scared or ain't nothing wrong with that. That whole masculinity, BS and all that stuff, listen, being true to who you are is what matters. You dig? So it's like I tell students all the time, yo, you scared? Dig it. Let's work through that. Because the one thing I don't want is that this summer, all of y'all go out there and lose your minds. Y'all probably will. And then we back to the same thing in the fall. You dig? Because then we like, I'm tired of being online. And dude, it serves a purpose. I don't mind teaching online, but I love being in the classroom. I love engaging with you. I love talking smack on the yard to y'all. It's just, dude, last year I wore a t-shirt and shorts for like 6 months straight. Like, I didn't even dress up, man. I was like, so anyhow, man, I'm just rambling, but yeah, y'all.
You brought up a good point though, as far as like being true to yourself. And I think that in this space, like coming in transition to college, you have an image. And you think about like, what image did you have back home? And what image did you have coming into college? And what image are you trying to uphold? What image are you trying to change? What are you trying to transform to? So I want to just think about like, and how, if somebody else wants to talk about how important image is and how you can kind of rebrand yourself sometimes. Or you can rebrand yourself in a negative way or in an adverse way or in a positive way. So I'm just going to put that question out there as far as like image.
I know
Go ahead.
my image as far as before I came into WSU, it was more of like, okay, had my head on straight, church boy, good dude, always try to do the right thing. And then even now, to where going through what I went through here at WSSU and to where I'm at now, it's still like I'm trying to still keep that image, but more of upgraded, better developed, better molded, And I know I can really speak for myself. Now I'm still the same dude, but different up top,
So I mean, for me, it's really who do you want to be, right? And so think about that. When we talked earlier, or when I made my statement earlier about your destination, think about where you want to be and what it's going to take to get there, and how are you aligning yourself to get to that destination. And you always need to think, is what I'm doing right now getting me to that place, right? Because if it's taking you off the course, that should be a red flag, right? So, when you think about what you're going to do this summer, I think one of the most dangerous things you can do is not have a plan, right? Because now you're going to get back home. Now, if it was anything like when I grew up in the Bronx, if you went back home and you didn't have a plan, well, you're going to get into something. Right. And that don't mean it's going to be a good thing.
That's right.
Right. So what's the point in putting yourself in that situation after you've made the decision to go to college? Obviously, if you made that decision to go to college, you want better. And it's okay to not know exactly what that is, but you still know you want better.
Absolutely.
So you got to make better decisions. And sometimes there's peer pressure, right? When you get back home. People knew you as what you were when you left. But when you come back, you might not be that person anymore. So how are you going to protect your image and what you're trying to accomplish? Right?
Good sir. Well said.
And I want to jump on with that also. I was kind of going in that direction too. You have what I call, you got followers, you got leaders, and you got in-betweeners. So the whole thing is you need to figure out when you're young. I think the best way to go about life is to just first identify with what you're not. That'll help you break down exactly what you are. You start to develop into who you are through that. With school, especially with college, a lot of times, the mindset for a lot of parents, let's say, is to tell you to go in one particular direction with your education because they're speaking from their perspective. They're thinking about stability. They're saying, okay, I want you to go to the nursing program. I want you to do something medical. I want you to do something.
Be a lawyer.
They want you to do something that they feel is going to
pay the dividends.
Exactly, some stability. But that may not be your true interest.
Right.
You may want to just be not just, but you may want to be something that may not take as much school. But the pressure is put on a lot of students to just follow that path that mom and dad, grandmom, grandpop, big brother, big sister, they told you, okay, this is the way to go. And next thing you know, you're sitting in class and you don't have any interest in what you're doing. And you may be getting good grades because you're just an academically sound person, but you're not getting what you want out of it, what you need out of it is going to fulfill you. So you end up being great at what you do because you have the skill to do it, but you're just not happy about what you're doing.
That's right.
That's right. It's got to, somewhere in there, you got to do something that's going to please you. So, but back to my original point, just it's all about identity. Right now, this is a tough time for a lot of people because you're not quite a teenager, you're not quite an adult. You may go home and say, well, mom, dad, I'm an adult. Can I borrow $1?
Right.
Let me hold something.
Right. Well, did you cook?
Yeah.
Did I cook? I thought you was an adult. Did you cook?
You hear the pot bang, but so you kind of what I call what do you call it when the airplane autopilot, kind of on autopilot there. And you can ride that for about 3 or 4 years, but after that 4th year, you gotta really step up and assume that adulthood. So, but yeah, I think the best way to do it is just start rolling out who you're not. That means, not just academically, career-wise, who you're not on the street when you go home.
Exactly.
This is my real identity because what will end up happening is that your alliances and your friends, they'll let you know who you are by the amount of time that they want to be around you. Because if you get around them talking about academic things, I'll talk to you later. Call me, text me.
You got a point of
But as long as you're doing things that are in line with what they do, that crowd that you typically would follow when you're at home, you got a friend for life. Because you're both strangers to yourself. You don't know who you really are. So.
Nah, I mean, yeah, you gave me the assist. No, but it's funny, man, and I got to go to that real quick before. The true reality of it is when you we all tend to code switch, and when we switch up, what our identity is in the guise of, our professional kind of identity and who we are when we take the suit off. You dig? I remember being 21 in college, and it's no secret, I was kind of like a different kind of dude in the streets. And I would go home, and I grew up in Brooklyn, grew up in housing projects. And after a few semesters of going back home, like my true friends who were still in the life, they would tell me, yo, B, we dirty, you probably should leave. Or, yo, good seeing you, how's school? You probably should bounce, because they respected you. Mm-hmm. And that went a long way for me, man, because for me, I left this suburban community in Maryland of peace and tranquility. Well, I'm exaggerating, but the environment that was safe as a college student, so to speak. Then I'm going back and, I went to school in the 90s, man. It's the crack epidemic. It was rough in Brooklyn. This is before gentrification. I know it's chic to live in New York now. It wasn't when I was there. And, I had to transform into being this college student to basically being this hood dude to survive in the streets. Mm-hmm. And then doing so to ensure that I didn't go back into the street life, because I loved being in college. So after a while, I just stopped coming home. And I would just, You know, I would go, I had a little gig, and, you know, of course I had to take care of my mom and my grandma, but I've always battled with those identities until I got older, and then I realized I put them together. So, you know, now I'm the best of both worlds, right? You know, I could do it with the hood, I could do it with the hood, I could do it with the jokers on Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell students, you know, you're not limited to Doc's point. Students who take my intro class have an incredible point of view. By Thanksgiving, them jokers are radicalized going back home. And I'm like, listen, don't get kicked out of your house. Don't get later. Your folks pay your tuition. Don't get kicked out of your house. You got 4 more years. You know what I mean? So, but speak your truth. So our job, as far as I'm going, my job as a faculty member, as a mentor, just as a regular dude on the yard, is to empower just not the fellas, but the ladies too. Be who you are, you know, speak your truth, you know, and know that you don't have to always be defined by what society says you are. And I think that's our problem. You know, I tried so hard to fit into this box. You know, I used to work for the government. I didn't have all of this. I didn't have the tattoos because I tried to fit into that because of my past and because of the lifestyle I lived. And then, you know, years later, I realized that wasn't my truth. I was playing. So I could, so basically they can value me. Well, I don't need you to value me. I value myself. So that's what I tell y'all. Value yourself and know that when you go back home, whatever it is, it could be small one-stop sign towns or it could be a big city. Know that in the fall, you're coming back to the yard. So whatever you do that summer, make sure it's work. Like Chief said, idle time sucks. I'm a grown man and I don't do well with idle time. I need to stay structured. You know, my wife be like, man, boy, you're always busy. Because I know I'm not constructive when I'm just, you know, my brain races. Because, you know, it's the whole up north thing. So for y'all, for young people, you know, the audience, you know, just have a plan. You know, most of y'all work. So you're always going to go work. You know, y'all going to hang out. No doubt. Be out. Have fun. But be careful. You know, you still got to wear your mask. You know, some of this stuff, I know there's a lot of issues with, you know, media propaganda and all that. But I'm not here to tell you one way or another how to live your life. But all I can ask you is to protect yourself because I want to see you in the fall. And I'm going to tell you, this last year, I've seen old folks pass away. I've seen young folks pass away. And I've seen people in the middle pass away. And they all look like us. So my thing is, I'm not going to sit here in front like we're not dying. You know, I know we got all these other folks who are going to preach their gospel of whatever that means. But for me, I've seen people die. I've people die in my family on the scale. So for that, you know, just be true to who you are and be able to balance it. If you're a church going kid, but you're a little hood too, you like your little trap music, be out, do it. Who cares? Now, granted, your folks you probably be like, oh, well, son. Well, you know, you respect your home. You know, that's home base. But you are grown. For all intents and purposes, next week, you're going to be a grown man by law.
Yeah, right.
You know, you still got to pay some more bills, but you know, other than that, you know what I mean? But just, and that's for everyone listening, man. Just everyone, it's like everybody's shaking up the bottle. I see it all on social media. People, oh man, I'm gonna kirk out. I'm gonna go crazy this summer. You take that cap off, it's gonna go, and it may be fun initially, but once it fizzles out, where we gonna be? And I hope that we good. You know, that's my only prayer for all of y'all, man, and me and us.
I think you brought up something that kind of resonated with me, like the image and just my transition. Like you said, growing up, being in the 90s, I grew up in the 80s, DC, born and raised, crack epidemic, murder capital, and just going to college with that image and that DC mindset and mentality was hard for me because I went to college down south. So I was the only dude from DC, and I'm like, I made it from the streets of DC. Ain't nothing in North Carolina that happened to me that couldn't happen in DC. And then having the transition back of, I'm a college student, but I'm still going back home, hanging on the block with my boys, my homies, and still connecting, still want to be down, still going, but now I realize I don't know what they doing when I'm gone. They love me, you know, but I tell myself all the time, bullet ain't got no name, you know, so, and then realizing that I used to tell my students, I told them in Florida too, like, it's no thugs in college. Like, if you want to be a trap, then go do that. But you can't try to do both. And don't be going and hanging out with the wrong crowd because it's going to catch up to you. Yep. And then realizing you came to college for a purpose, right? Didn't you come here to better yourself, to mature, to leave your past or some of the stuff you did in your past behind it and be a new person? But I think it's hard for us to really grab hold of that and gravitate to that growth and that transformation. And thinking that we leaving something behind because we want to still be down with the homies, right? But like everybody not gonna go where you gonna go, right? And I say before, it's like a season or a lifetime. And those, and I can say my friends that are true to me, they still, when I go back home, they still rock with me. They still know. Like, and I had to come to some terms the other day, like I was protected in certain aspects. They knew where I was going. They was like, nah, you don't need to do that. Back up. Go ahead, man. We got this. And realizing that you designed for a purpose and you going somewhere and you can't sacrifice or jeopardize what you work for. So my thing is, you should look different, right? College look different on you, right? Because you in opportunities and spaces that most people will be blessed to be in. So own that space and command that space, because they need to see what college look like on you, because you don't know how you are a leader and a role model in your community. Because little kids looking up to you like, you go to college? Where you go? I go here now. Right. So now you immediately become a role model just in doing the things that you do. So I think it's important that our students embrace that and embrace the fact that, like, I think now, like my son is, be a nerd, man. It's cool to be a nerd, man. I tell him, man, that, hey,
please be a nerd.
Because eventually you're going to end up working for one, right? Yeah. Right? Nerds rule the world. So embrace that, right? All this stuff, man, I was back in the 80s, that's back in the 90s, right? That trapped me. Everybody ain't gonna be a rapper either. I'm telling you right now. Be a producer if you're gonna be out there, right? Like on the label, right. So that's some of the things that we think about. So think about like how the gambles and the mistakes we make in the summertime that we don't realize we make it. Just hanging out and how that can jeopardize everything you work for in the blink of an eye, in a car at the wrong time, right? And you like, hey, is it mine? Is it yours? Who is it?
And that's easy. The hard thing is super easy.
So I'm just thinking about talking about how like gambling and all that situation. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, and I think one of the things that our young people don't think about are the people who are jealous of you, and they're not gonna say anything, right? Some guys some people are so bad that they will say, look, if I do have something, I'm not going to tell you. And if you home chilling, I know if you catch this rap because you haven't been in anything, it's going to be a lot easier on you than it is for me. And they don't care about your future.
Not at all.
You see what I'm saying? But you should have never put yourself in that situation either, right? So this is when we start talking about that transition and thinking about the importance of the things that you're doing and you being in school, right? And then there's such thing called reputational damage, right? So how does that affect you being with some people that you know are not going to complement the lifestyle you want to live, right? So, look at that circle. I mean, it's important. You, like I said, you in school. Why?
And that's the Chief talking.
Wow. Right? And believe me, I'm telling you from experience. I've seen the hardest guys fold when they are faced with something
all the time,
like some time, and you'll be surprised what will happen. I've seen it in
the feds.
So
crying like babies.
Think about it. It's not working.
It's funny that y'all bring up that point because
all of them did. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Keep the party going, people. Keep the party going.
We good. Technical issues. We good,
Just to piggyback what y'all saying, it's funny that y'all brought up that point because I know, especially like coming from where I came from, country, nothing but just fields, animals, trees. So it's not what you would see down here in the city, and kind of adjusting in that was kind of big, especially for me because I experienced things I thought I'd never experienced, running from bullets, being shot at, and all that stuff. Now, because coming back home, everybody knew everybody. It won't really that much violence as it was, outsiders. But just trying to like work with it now, and I think when you brought up the point as far as okay, you ride in a car, something's in there, and the people that you're around, they know the path you're trying to take, they know where you're trying to go. But it's like, okay, if I get caught with it, it's gonna be a big of a deal than if Sean get caught with it. Sean ain't been in no trouble. Sean got no record. Right. So and that's things that really, stuck out to me as far as, now.
But that's the thing, Chief and I, for the years we've been here, man, we've had to help a lot of folks. And let me preface that so people could understand. In spite of what we see nationally with police, this is not that kind of conversation. But what I would say is that our campus police has always been about ensuring that our students come in and leave the way they came in, but better, as far as intellect and stuff like that. So it's so easy. And sometimes brothers like yourself or young ladies or whoever the case may be are impressionable. And, we have an element. There's no denying that. We have an element of individuals who prey and they take advantage of people who are naive and gullible. And sadly, we've seen situations where jokers have gotten caught up. And Chief will call me and they will talk and we'll process whatever we need to. But that relationship is what's critical. That's what I'm trying to focus on. Once again, here on our campus, here on the yard, the relationships that we have, us old guys, with each other, whether, Dr. Mitchell and them are kind of new, but we're working on that. We're building and we'll be at a good place as we continue to build. But like for Chief and I, and there's some others, Dr. Boone and other faculty that have been around for a minute who are about our people. We want you guys to succeed. So as you guys transition back home, it's the streets, but then it's even parents. Your parent, there's rules and we don't want you guys to go back home and get into conflicts with your parents because you're smelling yourself. As my mom would say back then, you're smelling yourself a little bit. You're a big dude, right? So it's like, my mom was a little bitty lady and she used to always be like, I was grown, man. I was coming home from college. I was mid-20s by then. And she'd be like, well, you got to be home at 2:00. And I was like, what? Dude, nothing, everything opens at 2:00 in New York, man. Right. So it's like, I ain't leaving my house until 2:00. So, I used to be like, and my mom, oh, God bless her, man. She was crazy. She would like put the chain on, it's the city, man. Got the bar on, it's the hood. So if all of that was on, my key wouldn't work. So it was just like, damn. So you got to figure something else out, whatever. But my point is, man, for people that are listening, especially the newer students who feel isolated and probably feel not as connected, start building those connections however you can. I have social media. My social media is open, and I know a lot of my colleagues do too. For now, that's probably the best way to do it until we get back and you guys come to the office or we're talking in DJR. But establish your networks. You just said Miss Shalee. You're right. She's the unofficial auntie for everybody up in this room. So it's like, but she's just one person. So you got to understand, like the chief and I, we used to have trust talks on the yard years ago in the dorms. Well, residence halls, you can't say. Yeah, my bad, Dr. Mitchell. My bad. You gotta say residence halls. I don't want Chantal if she's watching. I don't want to get in my case. Right. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, just know that, I've always been about, building bridges, like networking. I'm always talking about networking. Know who can help you grow. And like anything, too many friends, too many this, too many that is like extra luggage. If you travel a lot, it only slows you down. And that's my metaphor for life. If you ain't helping me elevate, build, and grow, then you don't need to be in my cipher. And that's what I tell young people. Like, are they helping you grow? Are they putting money in your pocket? Because if they not, then why are they in your space? And why are you stressed about them in your space? Dude, just cut it off. So that's my free advice for all of y'all.
I want to think, you said some things about that transition back home though, like you smelling yourself. And I think many students, you included, those out there, need to understand it. It's different rules for different spaces and places.
Sure do.
So yeah, you may have been in college doing your thing, hanging, living your best life, right? So you going back to the crib in your parents' house and think you getting a big piece of chicken. That's not going down. You feel what I'm saying? Like, hey,
ain't fried chicken Wednesday, man.
Like, that's not. So it's like respecting the home
Sure
of like, it's rules and regulations here, and I got to do this for the summer. And I'll have my opportunity to go back home, back to school and live my best life. But you're not gonna be rocking like that in mom and dad's crib. That's what you smell yourself, boy. Especially if I'm paying you a tuition.
Son,
so like, I'm feeding these. I'm doing this food. What you doing? You think you got a little summer job and you doing something? Nah, got a little car? Chill out, sit down. So it's just that some people need to start thinking about that. So I think our next thing is like, after you go through the summer, like, what is your plan to kind of navigate that summer terrain? And I think that's what some students need to focus on. Of don't go back the same way you left. if you don't do nothing else, and I don't mean you can hang with the same people, right? If you're growing and elevating and getting in new spaces, they may not be good for where you're trying to go. They were there when they needed to be there the most. And there's nothing wrong with growing. You out. That's life. You see what I'm saying? You outgrow people. So with that being said, like, what do you think is your shift after you in the summer? You live your best life, paid attention to the rules. You was doing your thing, stacked some money, went to the beach with your boys, hung out, all that, right? Fun in the sun. Then how do you transition your mind back from I was living free? Now I'm transitioning back to going straight into grind mode, college mode, student mode, and the new rules for that environment.
It's really just like, you know, like you said, coming from the summer and then going back in, it's really, for me, it's like a personal thing. One thing I do with myself, like, okay, after I have my fun, it's time to lock back in. You know, there's really certain things that I kind of pay attention to, especially Winston, because, you know, as a student, you have no choice but to look at your phone. You have no choice but to, you know, go through your emails and all that stuff. So really, especially with Winston, they always on you about, oh, you got to do this, got to do that. And really, I give credit to my parents because, especially my dad, he always drills me like, okay, Sean, you know, you had your fun, but now what are you about to do next? Like, what's next? And if I can't answer that question, it's like, okay, it's time to get back in the lab. It's time to go back and, you know, regroup. You know what I'm saying? Especially when, you know, we having conversations like this and somebody else asks you, it's like, okay, what's your plans when you get back? And if I can't answer the question, it's like,
especially your senior year.
Exactly. So really just that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you know, I want to circle back around, back to that that nerd piece.
Okay.
Because when you transition out, I might get in a little trouble for this one right now, but that nerd piece a lot of times is promoted by young ladies, you know. So yeah, so that nerd thing that goes on, a lot of times what's going to happen is that that little part that we forgot to throw at you is that the reason why we're telling you to become a nerd, telling all the guys and ladies to become a nerd is that's the way to go to make yourself productive and make yourself a good contributor. But that path to get there may be a little difficult because in order to transition into that nerd, you got to take some hits. You know, you might have to take some hits on your character, your personality, your swag, all that stuff.
All that, right?
You know, so you got to be able to, you know, kind of rise above that. But it's easier said than done, I'm sure, you know. But we're telling you from a perspective of knowing that once you get to a good point in your life when you're kind of, when I spoke about earlier as far as being a leader, once you get to that leadership role, you won't have to worry about that nerd persona anymore, you know. But that track to get there could be a little difficult. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of young people kind of get, you know, a little confused about, because those alliances, you know, your friends, you just want to make sure that you impress them. You want to make sure you send a message to them about who you are and the type of person that you are. Let them know that you can be that. You can be that balanced person, just like Doc said. You know, he can be in the White House, or he could be in the trap house.
White House or the trap
Wide
house.
range.
He
Wide
said
range.
it, not
Wide
me.
range. It's all right.
Yeah, but a lot of times that growth,
I know.
yeah, right. But sometimes that growth can get in the way, especially for a lot of young men, because you know, oftentimes with young ladies, they may not be as attracted to that nerd person, you know, during these college years, and you may be, you know,
being a bad boy is always in.
Yeah. You know, and
they never go out of style.
It's you know, it's a difficult hill to climb. You know, but those same young ladies will appreciate you if you can wait about 8 years from now. You know, so I would say to you and everyone out there, you know, just stay within your personality. You know, be who you are, be true to yourself, be patient. Patience. Things are changing. Things are changing now, you know. And when we say nerd, you know, it's just translation is really just somebody really just focused on
About
what
their
they
business.
need to do
Driven.
and handle their business.
About their business, man.
So when
Nerd is
they
chic,
throw nerd
Yeah.
at you,
And you can
say
be
it
cool
just like
too.
that.
Yeah.
You can be a cool nerd.
Absolutely,
Too. Let's go
absolutely.
and put that out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the way to go. I like that cool nerd part, because in order for all of us to be sitting up here, we had to dip into the nerd bucket,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Embrace it, right? You have to embrace it.
So and embrace it, and then, and here's the results.
Sure.
Got a panel full of great men here, giving some good direction, good insight. Hey, this is what nerds do.
Right.
Cool nerds.
And let me just say this. You have to think about what you want, right? So if you want nice things, you want money, you want nice cars, you gotta work. I don't care what it is, you're gonna have to work. It's not gonna be given to you. And so Dr. Monell said earlier, work hard, play hard. He didn't say play hard, play hard, play hard, right? Because we were talking a little bit earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I said was, you look at a lot of people that play now up front, they pay later,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's their family, their kids that they're trying to raise, certain things that you can't do or provide because you played so much throughout your life that now when it's time to provide and be this adult, whether you woman, man, doesn't matter, it's hard for you to provide, right? And now you have all these obstacles in the way of you doing what it is you want to do. But it's the nerd, right? If that's what we want to call it, that worked hard and was laughed at, bullied maybe in some situations. But look at them 15, 10 years, 20 years from now, right? And they're going to get what they want because they worked up front. And now is nothing like being able to play and get toys, big boy toys, right? You want the big truck, you want the big vacation. There's nothing like that other than when you're an adult and you get to play.
That's right.
Right? So, pay now, put in the work now. And if you with the right circle, they're going to help you put in the work so that way you successful. If you with the wrong circle, all they're going to talk about is playing. But they're not going to help you pay your bills. Right? So you got to think about that.
I think that brings me to kind of quote that resonated with me was keep the main thing the main thing. So if anything else that impedes from the main thing, you need to distance yourself from it. And we need to focus and keep the main thing in front of you, a straight line, direction, keep moving it in that path to get there. So I think that we're talking about transitioning, right? The main thing was college, right?
That's right.
And do we focus on or look back to that decision that made us go to college, right? Think about that feeling or emotion that you had when you first decided, I'm gonna apply to college. Then I got accepted in college. That was a big thing. But we lose sight of that maybe at the end of the year, that first year, that 3 years in, we focus. But think about that first time when you first got into college, got that feeling of acceptance, right? And keep the goal, keep focus on being goal oriented, keep the main thing. So I think now it's like, as we transition back into school, do we drill down again and say, what am I focused on? And do we put our goals up so we can see them, right? So I think of how has that led you, or how does that continue to lead you? And then what are your educational goals as far as that? Like, how are we focusing on that?
So I know as far as educational goals for me, it's really just, I know it might sound just basic, but graduate. Just graduating college.
That's a
And-
success right there. That's a
and
success.
then just, putting on for my young bulls back at home, because, I got a lot of young guys to look up to me, from my cousins D and then JoJo, all them boys. I want them to be able, okay, when they think of their cousin Sean, they can look at me as somebody to look up to, somebody that, okay, been and done that, but also, made it to where he want to be. And also giving credit to my sister and my cousin, because they was really the first two people I seen that actually, okay, they went to college. My sister got her master's, and now they can pretty much do whatever they want. You mentioned playing with the big boy toys, getting big boy things. I like nice things. I like to get this and that. In order to get that, you got to work hard for it. You got to grind for it. So, you know, you got to stay locked in. And as far as like my goals, I know one thing me and my guys do is kind of like write it down, stick it on your mirror. That way, every day you wake up, okay, I know I got this to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish, you know, and make sure, you know, I can't end the day unless I at least got one of the goals accomplished. So.
That brings to a point also thinking of who supports your goals. Because many times we talk about friends and all this, and you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. Are they supporting? Do they have your best interests at heart? So kind of reflect on, are they supporting me and buying into my vision? Who's my support team, right? Because many times we may go back to home. Some people weren't excited that you went to college. We got some people out there that, why are you going to college? Make money now. And they think about, you got to think about delayed gratification. People don't want to work for it. And I know I tell them all the time to my students, microwave babies. Pop it. Oh, it's ready now. That's right. But you got to work for it to make it sustainable, right? You build that cake, that good meal, it takes time, the investment in that, but the product is good. And think about like who supports your dreams when you start to think about that. And building a network of people that buy into your dream and vision.
That's right.
And that's, you know, just piggybacking on what you said, you know, I also, you know, shout out again to my boys, you know, the B5 crew, you know what I'm talking to. But, you know, having them around and watching all of us grow to now, okay, we all got the same goal in mind. Even some of my, you know, my guys that, you know, probably not even in school no more, you know, still in touch. We all trying to get to the bag, you know, and especially in today's age, you know, in this quote unquote, what us young people call it, you know, you got these, you know, girls, city girls, whatever, you know, a girl that you want ain't gonna be looking for no dude that don't know where you want to go. You know, I don't know too many females that, you know, just want somebody that, okay, they still stuck and kind of comfortable in the position that they still in, you know. So, and that's why I, you know, shout out to my guys, because we all pretty much got that same idea. Okay, we got to make it. All of us want to be rich. We all want nice things. So in order for us to get there, we got to make sure everybody on the right track. You know, if I'm slacking, I know my boy Chase gonna pick me up. If Chase slack, hey man, we got to hit this hard. We got to get this, you know, back together. You know, so and that's just falls back into, you know, when you come into college, make sure you make the right connections. Make sure you're talking to the right people. That way, you know, that group that you got can help elevate you instead of, you know, bring you down.
That's right.
So when we think about the summer, let's talk about some of the pitfalls that are out there. So I think we haven't addressed some of the things that you may encounter, right? I think that's something I know that, you know, DC summers used to be lit back in the day. You know, we had the Caribbean Fest and all that, be hanging out, and, you know, we had live and dream, you name it. I mean, all the college students home. So think about like some of the challenges that you run into. And I want to say this though, I'm gonna ask Chief about it when he talked about image and how it's important. Like image, I think they say it's hard to gain, but it's easy to lose. So just think about, Chief, can you just talk about the importance of kind of protecting and preserving your image and just putting your name in certain things, how that could tarnish your image?
Absolutely. That's a great point. I think a lot of people don't really understand the power in their name, right? And it's not talked about a lot. And preserving, you know, that name, right? So you represent something, right? And so when you don't respect that name and you do things that you think are no big deal, it does have an effect. And I'm sure Dr. Monell can speak to that as well. But for instance, you have people that may say, well, you know, I'm getting these little ticky-tack charges, you know, whatever the case may be. And it seems like it's fun and games today. It's no big deal. Well, you don't understand that you are affecting and damaging your trademark, your brand, your name, right? And so now when you years later apply for certain jobs, you wonder why you may have a difficult time where they're looking at that criminal history. And I can assure you, when you fill out an application, they're always going to ask you, you know, if you've been arrested for anything, or if you've been in any other legal situation. And now you got to think back to something that happened 10 years ago, right? And, you know, again, you weren't thinking about it 10 years ago, how it was going to affect you. but it does follow you.
That's right.
Right? So you want to protect that. Look, people are already having a hard enough time trying to get a job with a clean slate. So why are you gonna do damage to your brand, your name, and make it harder for yourself to provide for yourself and your family? You know, so I put that out there. Protect your name. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's a big thing. I never thought of it quite like a trademark, but that's exactly what it is. You know, and a lot of things, you know, they catch up to you when you least suspect it. You know, so you got to kind of look at your name like credit. You know, and you know, you mess it up early, it won't be any good to you later on. Not that I know anything about that, but yeah, but I think that's you know, very, very important. And just it helps with recognizing that you represent more than just yourself. You know, as you get older, you start to realize that just like those friends you're talking about, the younger guys looking up to you and everything, you know, when they look at you, you know, and they look at the way that you've done things over a period of life, and trust me, they've been looking at your record just like a police officer would look at records. You know, they've been watching you throughout the neighborhood, and when you least expect it, they've been, you know, taking notes and seeing everything that you do. They try to mimic things that you do, and you know, all kinds of things like that. You know, so always know that the eyes are on you, and you know, just try to represent yourself, you know, as best as possible. You know, even with the mistakes, you know, there's a way to you know, let people know that, you know, you made certain mistakes, but you know, you took the time to try to rectify things in your life, and just the mere fact that you cared enough to do it, you know, that's a big step, you know, because me growing up, everybody shouted out this city. So I grew up in Philadelphia.
Okay,
You know, Philly, Philadelphia, you know, but you know, just watching a lot of people, you know, that had a lot of potential, just lose it all. I mean, just watching guys, basketball and boxing is pretty good in the city, pretty big in the city. So watching so many people succumb to drug addictions and things like that. And here comes somebody that's not as good as those people, but they get a chance to get on the team because the better people, they've all messed up their lives, you know. And the same thing goes for a job. You know, you become, I'll just stay with the theme of the drug situation. You know, if you're a barber, there's the best barber in town, but he's always on drugs. So they get the guy that nobody likes to go to in the back. You know, eventually he becomes in high demand, you know, because the better people that have the top skill, they end up succumbing to a lot of pressures and things out there in the world. And you need somebody to fulfill that, well, to fill that gap. So a subpar person becomes the main person because the greatest person for the job destroyed their lives, you know. So it's just recognizing what your skills are, what your gifts are, and capitalizing on them, and be selfish with that. You know, don't allow anybody else to have an opportunity to step in and take something from you that they didn't earn. So,
and real quick, I just want to add something else real quick. You know, everybody has a story, whether you know it or not. And once people hear your name, somebody is thinking something. Now, what is that something, right? So if you throw a name out there, automatically something's gonna pop in your mind, right? So if I say Trump, I just threw a name out there. Well, you're gonna have people that have certain thoughts about Trump, and you're gonna have people that have other thoughts about it. So what do people think when they hear your name, right? If I throw Dr. Mitchell out there, what comes along with that. And that's how you have to look at yourself, right? What image do you want people to think about, or what image are you trying to display? And is it coming across the way you want it to? That's when you have to go back and think about everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying, because people are writing a story about you based on what you presenting.
That's right.
So
I'm gonna ask anybody, we got any final words? Chief, you got some more you want to finish what you're saying? Some final words before I ask everybody else?
I appreciate this, and I hope the people who are watching got something out of this. And you know, at the end of the day, we are a resource to you all. So it for me, yeah, I'm the chief, but I'm here for you, right? So I'm not, you know, here as you know, the chief that's always going to talk about law enforcement. I've had students come to me about jobs or other things. I'm here for you as a resource and as a person. So if you got questions, you know, let me know. And I'm sure everybody else up here feels the same way. Thank you.
Just glad to be on this, a part of this, and just, you know, soaking up all this knowledge that y'all gave, really just taking everything in, you know, in account, you know, because, you know, as, you know, young man, you need good people you can talk to. You need people that, you know, that could sow wisdom into you. That way, you know, you won't make certain mistakes along your way. So, you know. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I guess, you know, just grateful, humbled to be able to kind of be in this conversation. I look forward to more, you know, particularly as we, you know, go into the fall and come back. You know, for the students, just, you know, be careful this summer. Enjoy yourselves, you know, let your hair down, so to speak. For those of you graduating, you know, let's depart to serve. Let's leave the yard and be social change agents, the way we've empowered you to be. And for the students who are coming back, you know, go back home, handle your business, and come back and be ready to go. And like Chief said, you know, I know it's been hard this year, you know, because I would always say, just come by my office. But I'm not in my office that much. Definitely not now. But, you know, but I say that to say, just seek me out, man. Students, you know, y'all hit me up all the time on social media. If it has to do with some legal issues, if it has to do with some personal issues, academic issues, y'all know I'm always available, man. You know, as best as I can, you know, because I have to balance my time too, you know, and make sure I cover all my bases. But it's always dope to be in a cipher with young people, with my peers. And I look forward to all of us being in a one setting again. Sheesh. So we can really build. Thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, I guess one of the last things I'll say is that, you know, it's always good to, you know, just be able to sit in the cipher, you know, and get a chance to, you know, share thoughts with like minds and, you know, just being around people with good energy. All of us up here, you know, we're here to help, here to reach out, here to give you what we have, offer it to you. And at some stage, you'll be in this position, and maybe not in these exact seats necessarily, but you'll be in a position to try to, you know, enlighten some others about things about life. And the beauty about life is that you don't know everything.
That's right.
You know, because it always gives you another day to learn something new. And just embrace the fact that you don't know everything. You know, that's just a beautiful aspect of life. So, you know, just stay focused on what you're trying to do. And in the meantime, me being a counselor, I would just implore everyone that's going through anything big or small, just reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. You know, quick analogy, I'm gonna let it go. I always say this, I've said this to a lot of students, you know, when you drive your car, you can look at the gas gauge, it can tell you that you need gas. because there's a needle there. But when your transmission is out, there's no needle, you know. So the only thing you have is a check engine light. And a lot of times you don't know when that check engine light is going to, does it mean that you have 5 minutes or does it mean you have 5 miles? But bottom line is don't wait until your check engine light comes on. You know, treat your transmission, treat you the same way you treat your gas tank. You see it going down, it's time to replenish. So with that, turn it back over to you, Doc.
Appreciate y'all. I think the first thing I say is that remember, we here to help. We've been in some situations and experiences and want to use our experiences and be vulnerable and share with you all. We want y'all to win at the end of the day. We really want y'all to win. That's why we're here. I think that's one of the unique things about being at HBCU and being at WSSU, that we really care and believe in our students and want to see our students go on and do better things.
That's right.
I want us to just to reflect on that it's a transition. You all have gone through a lot, experienced a lot, endured a lot, and overcome a lot. And I know some of them may have been seeming insurmountable, but you all have done a fantastic and spectacular job of just coping through this and surviving. And I know you're going to transition back home and unwind. Have fun in a safe way. You know, like as you say before, I say, you know, work hard, play hard, but you know, if you don't work, you don't eat, you don't grind, you don't shine. So grind first, and you're gonna shine. But the thing is, do it in a safe manner. I don't want students to come back in a situation that you were worse in than when you left. And whatever that be, personally, professionally, with your record, whatever it be in a relationship, make sure you're making calculated decisions that buy into what you're trying to do in your future and it aligns with where you're trying to go. I know it's a different coming back with an image and trying to buy back into that image, but you control you and where you're going. So I leave it like that. Remember that we want y'all to win. I look forward to more conversations to chop it up in the South and engage with y'all. I had some real in-depth, deep conversations that we talk about some real genuine, more topics like this. I think I'm blessed to share the stage with such, you know, great people, kings, scholars, professionals, practitioners, real guys. And it's interesting that I'm on a show with 3 guys from up north. So we go from like New York, Philly, and then me in DC, and then there you down in Carolina. So stay tuned for more barbershop opportunities. It's our first installment. Peace and blessings, and we out.